This is Euronews Now. I'm Helena Humphrey. Here are your top stories. As Boris Johnson bows out, the UK's Conservative Party names Liz Truss as its new leader, beating Rishi Sunak to become the country's next Prime Minister. Countries unveil new energy plans after Russia's Gazprom announces the indefinite shutdown of a key pipeline, deepening Europe's energy crisis. And the euro falls to a new 20-year low against the US dollar as gas prices go up.
Liz Truss, the UK Foreign Secretary, has beaten Rishi Sunak, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, to become the leader of the British Conservative Party. This means she is now Prime Minister-elect after the UK's current leader, Boris Johnson, handed in his resignation during the summer. And she will take office from Tuesday. In her acceptance speech, she told her fellow Conservatives that she would deliver on the party's promises.
I know that our beliefs resonate with the British people. Our beliefs in freedom, in the ability to control your own life, in low taxes, in personal responsibility. And I know that's why people voted for us in such numbers in 2019. And as your party leader, I intend to deliver what we promised those voters right across our great country.
Truss, along with Johnson, will meet the Queen on Tuesday in Balmoral to be formally appointed. She and her cabinet will inherit some of the worst inflation the UK has ever seen, an energy crisis, as well as the global upheaval caused by the war in Ukraine.
Some of Liz Truss's critics say she is known to change her mind as well as speak to the gallery, meaning she says what she thinks others want to hear. Whilst a student at Oxford University studying philosophy, politics and economics, the 47-year-old was president of the Oxford University Liberal Democrats and supported the legalisation of cannabis and the abolition of the royal family. She then joined the Conservative Party after graduating, despite being brought up with parents who supported Labour. In 2006, she was elected a councillor in Greenwich before becoming an MP for South West Norfolk in 2010. Then, under David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson, she's overseen a wealth of positions as Education Minister, Secretary of State for the Environment, Justice Secretary, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Secretary of State for International Trade, Minister for Women and Equalities, and is now the Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs since 2021. Truss was a staunch Remainer over Brexit, but then became a Leave supporter. Critics say she risks a trade war with the European Union over the impasse with the Northern Ireland Protocol when she wanted to scrap large parts of the agreement. However, supporters say that her creative thinking secured the release of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, something none of her predecessors were able to do. As International Trade Minister, Truss signed 63 rollover EU deals with various countries globally, including Japan, Australia and New Zealand. She is one of the Conservatives' longest-serving and most senior cabinet members.
The 5 weeks prorogation is to silence this House, it is to frustrate attempts to prevent a no deal, and any suggestion to the contrary from anyone, in my view, is disingenuous.
In my view, and the view of this government, there must now be an election on Tuesday, the 15th of October. I wish I might, honourable friend, all the best.
Order! Resume your seat. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Germany has announced a huge new aid plan to combat skyrocketing energy costs and inflation, which will total €65 billion in support. Energy prices have soared since the start of the war in Ukraine, and Europe is trying to wean itself off Russian energy. Kyiv urges Europe to stand firm, even as Russia's state-owned energy company stops gas supplies to Western Europe via the Nord Stream 1 indefinitely. citing equipment issues. It's prompted Finland and Sweden to announce emergency plans, offering billions of euros in liquidity guarantees.
The fact is that if we don't act soon, this could lead to serious disruptions in the financial system in the Nordic and Baltic countries. In the very worst case, we could fall into financial crisis. This is because electricity producers risk not being able to secure the necessary liquidity to deal with the consequences of Nord Stream 1.
Sweden plans to offer more than 23 billion euros in liquidity guarantees, designed to help companies struggling to meet the surging collateral requirements needed to trade electricity. Finland is aiming to offer 10 billion.
The recent strong price fluctuations in the electricity derivatives market require the government to take quick measures to ensure market stability. The government's Economic Policy Ministerial Committee has advocated for the government and parliament a 10 billion euro stability mandate for companies engaged in electricity production in Finland to cover their acute liquidity needs.
Its Prime Minister is also calling for measures at a European level to stabilise the market as a whole.
At least 6 people have been killed in a suicide bombing outside the Russian embassy in Kabul. 2 Russian staff members have been confirmed dead, with many more injured. It's the first attack on a foreign mission in Afghanistan since the Taliban took control. It's also the latest in a spate of attacks across Afghanistan, but no group has as yet claimed responsibility.
A set of measures was immediately taken to strengthen the protection of the outer perimeter. Additional Taliban authority forces were commissioned, and the capabilities of Afghanistan's intelligence and counterintelligence were used. Let's hope that the organisers and perpetrators of this terrorist act will be punished as soon as possible.
Officials say that guards shot the attacker dead as he approached the entrance to the consular section. It is unclear whether the attack was to undermine the Taliban or target Moscow's presence in the country.
The Ukrainian counteroffensive is making verifiable progress in the south and in the east, says the Institute for the Study of War, adding that Ukrainian forces are advancing along several axes in western Kherson region and have secured territory across the Siversky Donets River in Donetsk region. Now, first, let's take a look at the south. The Ukrainian flags are returning to the places where they should be by right, said Ukraine's president, announcing the liberation of 2 unnamed settlements in southern Ukraine. Ukrainian officials shared geolocated footage that shows Ukrainian forces raising a Ukrainian flag on a hospital building in Vysokopilya in the region of Kherson. It triggered critical discussions among some Russian male bloggers, while the Russian Defense Ministry maintained that Ukrainian forces continued to conduct, quote, unsuccessful attempts to advance. Zelensky also announced that Ukrainian forces liberated 1 settlement in Donetsk region. Geolocated imagery and footage published over the weekend show that Ukrainian forces crossed the Siversky Donets River and took control of Ozerna. This is approximately 20 kilometers east of Sloviansk. Ukrainian forces' ability to cross the Siversky Donets River without coming under Russian fire suggests degrading Russian control over the river's left bank east of Sloviansk, the Institute for the Study of War says. The UK Defence Ministry adds that political goal of the Donbas operation almost certainly remains to secure the whole of Donetsk region, which would enable the Kremlin to announce the, quote, liberation of the Donbas. Although Russia has had the most success in this sector, the UK Defence Ministry says its forces have still only been advancing around 1 kilometre per week towards Bakhmut.
You're watching Euronews now. We're back after a short break, so don't go anywhere.